Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Tyler, and today we are going to be doing what if Jotaro went to Italy, or what if Jotaro was more in Part 5 or more involved in Part 5 and not being an irrelevant little bit. Anyways, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want more JoJo what ifs, because I fucking love making these JoJo videos, you guys have no idea, I love JoJo's, this shit's amazing. And anyways, if you guys want more videos like this, please let me know down below. Now with that being said, this is a one-shot what if, and that means we're going to be covering a whole part, actually we're covering the whole goddamn timeline. We're going to go over Part 5 through Part 6, and with that being said, let's dive into it.
Hey, collecting rings like a Sonic. Bitches wanna party. My wrist getting heavy, so got 'em on a diet, yeah. Flex like I'm Hogan. Yo, bitch coming over. Yeah, we respect.
Alright, so he will be going to investigate on Giorno with his buddy Koichi, but I think Jotaro would trust Koichi to somewhat lead the mission, with Jotaro being mainly back up for Koichi in case anything happened. So he would be a few blocks away while Koichi would then encounter Giorno and freeze his hand. At that point, we get that little Giorno and Koichi scrap, with Giorno understanding that Koichi is a good person and running away. At that point, Jotaro would arrive and would get the details as to what had happened, and Jotaro at first wouldn't use time stop to try and detect Giorno and locate him, but at that point he would see Giorno get on a bus and he would be leaving, and at that point Jotaro just can't run over there, so he's just going to be using time stop now. And during this time, we would have Bruno be engaging with Giorno and them proceeding to now have their fight, and the fight is just starting off with Jotaro casting Zawaldo and using time stop to basically get inside of the bus. By the time Jotaro resumes time, we would get Bruno revealing his sticky finger ability and basically turning Giorno into a bunch of zippers, and at that point Jotaro sees Bruno attacking Giorno, and obviously Jotaro got the indication that Giorno isn't all that bad, given the fact that he didn't really try to kill Koichi. He just reflected his own attack and ran away, and at that point Jotaro understands, and Jotaro is a smart guy, guys. Like, I get it that Giorno is Dio's son, so Jotaro might not fuck with him, but you guys have to understand that Jotaro isn't going to let something from the past, especially when Giorno has nothing to do with this, basically get in the way, and Jotaro's gonna like try and kill him or whatever. Like, Jotaro clearly sees an indication that Giorno might not be all that bad, and he's kind of getting attacked right now, so for now, Jotaro is going to kind of help Giorno and face off Bruno. And just for you guys to understand, Jotaro's stand has unrivaled speed and power by this point, so Sticky Fingers isn't going to be really doing too much. Bruno will throw out a stand rush at Jotaro, but before Bruno's attack could even meet Star Platinum, Jotaro just evades the attack and Star Platinum blitzes and negs Bruno and punches him out of the bus. By that point, Giorno versus Bruno doesn't really escalate, and rather Jotaro kind of just beats Bruno outright. And when Bruno figures out that Jotaro can stop time, this would just wrap up the Bruno encounter, since Bruno would just cuck down. And after this, I believe Jotaro would tell Giorno as to why he and his friend are here, and that's to mainly see what the son of Dio was like. Giorno is surprised and then questions Jotaro how he's aware of Dio, but before Giorno could really finish, Jotaro cuts him off and explains the whole story as to who Dio is and how he's a pure evil scumbag who essentially nearly killed his mom with a bunch of other people that Dio basically did wrong. And at that point, Giorno's kind of surprised, since he didn't really know his dad like that, he just had a picture of him. So Giorno, who's someone who's pure-hearted and basically wants to do the right thing, hearing this fact would be shocked. He was never aware of his father's actions or even what he stood for or really anything about him. But at the same time, he wouldn't be completely freaking out due to him kind of being able to live with himself without his father, but hearing this is still surprising regardless. Jotaro wanted to see if Giorno was really anything like his dad, but Jotaro really doesn't see anything like that within Giorno as of right now. This convo would be happening after Bruno establishes the Polpo stuff, which I think for now, Jotaro is going to be supervising and ensuring Giorno's intent, and ensuring his intent isn't anything but positive. Now with that being said, this would lead into the part kind of being pretty similar to its canon self up until Popo dies, but Jotaro would obviously be there with Koichi, and I don't think Jotaro is going to really let Koichi get jumped or let Giorno try and save him. Rather, Jotaro is just going to kind of put an end to it, casting the world and just bopping Polpo. Now, I think Jotaro staying around for this investigation might encourage Koichi to kind of stay around, though I don't think his role would be too significant. Personally, I think he would probably go back to Morio, but for the sake of the story, we'll say Koichi kind of stays along. And he and Jotaro are going to be a unique duo, since we've actually seen these two before in the previous part, but now they are going to be involved with a completely different cast. So it's going to be interesting to see the interactions with them. And so at that point, Bruno would introduce Giorno to Passione alongside with Jotaro and Koichi after, yes, Giorno still kills Polpo, and we would then get them being introduced to the main squad, you know, Narancia, Fugo, Bacchio, etc., Mista. And I think we could have maybe like a nice interaction with Koichi and Narancia, considering the fact that they're both the two youngest on the squad, and maybe we could have Jotaro being respected upon by Mista and the other members of Passione, since he basically made Bruno cuck down. Especially Narancia, who looks up to Bruno, would be really surprised and respect Jotaro for that. Now, with that, we're going to be going over scenarios that Jotaro and Koichi could potentially change within Part 5, mainly the Squadra events, since that's our first kind of main villains that we got to deal with. So, we're going to be going over all of the encounters with La Squadra that really change. I'd say for Narancia's fight, we could have Koichi kind of being with Narancia, and Narancia and him kind of fighting side by side, and Narancia being revealed that he was taken in by a young age and basically respected Bruno and stuff like that, while Koichi basically said how he needed to basically stand up and evolve from this scared little boy into a strong, capable stand user that is now accompanying other stand users and helping them out. And honestly, this kind of life Koichi really does like. And it's kind of weird since Narancia and Koichi are two different kind of people, with Narancia kind of having a backstory, while Koichi's kind of just a normal kid that's in this bizarre world. So I think narratively it's a little nice, and I think in the end Koichi would basically freeze the opponent, allowing Narancia to get the final hit with Aerosmith, and both of them then winning the encounter. Now, I think for Jotaro, the first fight that would mainly change, kind of, is the Men in the Mirror stuff, which we could maybe have Jotaro and Fugo stuck in the mirror, with them delivering the final blow after Giorno and Abacchio figure out about the stand as well. Transitioning from those two fights being the ones that mainly change firstly with these two new characters, we would get on with Pesci and Prosciutto, where I can definitely see Jotaro being one of the people who go out to fight with Mista. Either he goes with Mista, or he just takes Mista's place entirely, given the fact that Jotaro is the best person to really fight in combat. And also with Time Stop, we could potentially have him kind of stopping the effects of Prosciutto's stand, which is the aging ability, and when he encounters the two of them and he casts Time Stop, he would neg Prosciutto out the train and basically beat him up and his stand, knocking him out and defeating him, and this would mean that the effect of the stand would basically then be reversed, and now it's everyone getting back to their normal states and Pesci about to get jumped and him trying to run away, but we would then see Bruno making a zipper, basically revealing that he's actually there, and Bruno, Mista, and Jotaro would proceed to then jump Pesci. And with this, the three of them then defeat Pesci and Prosciutto, and we would then move on with Babyface, which I think the only thing Jotaro could maybe change is, you know, him and Giorno punching the cars together and stuff, and him using Time Stop on Babyface. Now, I think after Babyface, Giorno, Mista, and Jotaro would then hop in the whip, where they would then face off against White Album, and this armor really isn't going to be a problem, considering the fact that Jotaro can kind of ignore durability with his stand and kind of stop time. It's just really not fair, bro. Like, this type of stand is too convenient for Part 5. So, really, White Album just kind of gets bopped. And at that point, we would move on to the introduction of King Crimson, which I think is going to be pretty interesting, since I think Jotaro would accompany Trish alongside Bruno. And suddenly, Diavolo would take Trish, and Bruno and Jotaro would pursue after her, with them trying to figure out King Crimson's ability. When he suddenly skips time and is behind Bruno, getting ready to incapacitate him, though due to Jotaro's perception and quick thinking, Jotaro would kind of put two and two together and realize Diavolo is just kind of waiting in the shadows, so as soon as he reveals his stand, we would get him using Time Stop. Jotaro would aura rush on Diavolo and overwhelm him with unrivaled speed and strength, and at that point, this would lead into Diavolo actually recovering and Jotaro being shocked. This is the first time a stand actually got up from an attack from Star Platinum. Diavolo smiles as he tries to use his time erasure on Jotaro, which at that point we would get Bruno trying to put two and two together and trying to figure out Diavolo's ability, and Bruno tries to predict King Crimson by predicting that he'll go for the same thing that he tried to go on Bruno to Jotaro, and so he basically throws a punch right behind Jotaro, the moment when time is skipped, and Bruno launches Sticky Finger's hand over behind Jotaro and then tags King Crimson. King Crimson would then get sent flying, and at that point Bruno and Jotaro try to grab Trish, and with Star Platinum, they are able to kind of escape Diavolo before he could really do any heavy damage to them. And with this, the encounter with Diavolo is a lot different than in canon. First of all, Diavolo actually gets damaged. And as for Bruno and Jotaro, they were able to kind of put 2 and 2 together, since Bruno and Jotaro are both very smart strategists, and imagine both of them literally working together trying to figure out this man's ability, so they're able to kind of put 2 and 2 together. And they also escape with no man dying, no Bruno dying, no Giorno needing to keep Bruno's soul in his dead body or whatever, that weird shit. Nope, none of that's happening. Bruno's actually living still. Oh, and by the way, if Bruno did get damaged by Diavolo anyway, I wouldn't think the injuries would really last that long, considering the fact that Jotaro would probably just time stop and then bring Bruno and Trish to Giorno, and then Giorno would heal Bruno in time. And so by that point, Bruno is going to be living regardless. Now, after this point, I think things would go steadily the same, especially with the Green Day stuff and all that stuff. The Narancia fight with the brothers, all that stuff is happening. The only thing that may change is maybe Jotaro and Giorno doing a Muda and Aura combo, which is a nice little symbolism, since we would never really see someone who would say Muda and Aura working together, but here we are. The Doppio and Risotto stuff is still happening, and I would say here, when Doppio tries to basically deceive Bruno and all that stuff, I think Bruno would still be oblivious as to who he is, and Jotaro would keep an eye on Doppio since he does have a suspicious feeling. We'll say here that Koichi is accompanying Jotaro as well, and Jotaro and Bruno and Koichi are talking to Doppio, and this would lead into them then seeing Doppio looking and showing them Polnareff, and Jotaro at that point would immediately stop time and get him, Bruno, and Koichi out of there and over to Polnareff's side. And when time suddenly resumes, they just are questioning what the hell happened. And at that point, Jotaro's suspicion already just grew to a point to where Jotaro just instinctively can tell that this guy is just bad news, and this guy right here, the one in the wheelchair, is actually his friend. Jotaro and Polnareff would reunite, and Polnareff says how he tried to contact Jotaro but couldn't, but Jotaro says not to worry and they can work together like old pals back in the old days. They would then proceed to smile at each other, and Jotaro says how he knew that kid was fishy, as Diavolo would then emerge. When using time erasure, Polnareff tags Diavolo and says how he's developed a countermeasure to them as he proceeds to try and erase time again, but suddenly Bruno comes in and distracts Diavolo long enough for Jotaro to come in and rush Diavolo, but it still isn't enough. Diavolo erases time, with him then proceeding to pierce Bruno's chest, shocking Polnareff and Jotaro. Polnareff says to Jotaro how he can't get this arrow and it leads to great power, blah blah blah. Jotaro understands, and Diavolo would proceed to laugh, saying that it ends here. Polnareff would get ready to try and counter Diavolo's time skip once again, but at that point, Diavolo is going to be doing the countermeasure where he would be throwing blood in their eyes. But before this anyway, and as Diavolo is basically saying how victory is his after beating up Bruno and Jotaro and Koichi being shocked, Polnareff would say to Jotaro that he's the only stand user he knows that could potentially even wield the power of the arrow. Polnareff knows that Jotaro is the strongest stand user, and Jotaro knows himself that he's the strongest on the team and really the only shot that they have at beating Diavolo. And with that being said, as Diavolo then rushes at Polnareff saying, "Don't you dare," blindsiding Diavolo would then be Koichi, who would actually get an Act 3 freeze off. However, Diavolo would easily be able to resist it and overpower the freeze, and at that point would then donut Koichi. Koichi on the brink of death would then enrage Jotaro, and at that point Polnareff would say for Jotaro to do it already, and Diavolo then rushes at the two of them saying no. Jotaro knows what he must do, and at that point would stab himself with the arrow. Glowing light would emit from him and his stand, and before Diavolo even knew it, Star Platinum Requiem was born, the stand that is the master of time. Now, Star Platinum mainly can stop time, and since Requiem is a form of evolution, I figured why not expand upon that and give something Jotaro's super busted, since all Requiem stands are kind of like that anyway. Jotaro can not only stop time temporarily, but he can stop the entire flow of time itself for however long he sees fit, and can even rewind time or specific parts in time. At that point, this would lead into Jotaro reversing specifically the effects on Koichi and Bruno, with both of them then recovering, and we would then get Star Platinum Requiem now just kind of toying with Diavolo. And when Diavolo tries to erase time, Jotaro physically would be able to move in this weird whatever dimension Diavolo is in when he's erasing time, and essentially just reverts the entire King Crimson ability. Diavolo rushes at Jotaro, and Jotaro, being the strongest stand now at this point, would just easily Aura Barrage Diavolo to the ground, and would even start speeding up time specifically in his fists, so every punch that he's throwing at Diavolo is making him rapidly age. Diavolo inevitably would be turned into dust the more and more times Jotaro punches him, and Diavolo would be defeated. The leader of Passione would still be Giorno, and I think Bruno would just promote him. And Giorno believes Jotaro should stay in Passione, or join it at least, but Jotaro and Koichi both know that they have somewhere else to be. And Giorno would then say, well, whatever Jotaro needs, just let them know and they'll be on their way. And they would then thank Jotaro, and Jotaro would thank Giorno and the rest of Passione, and would say to Giorno that he's kind of glad Giorno didn't turn out to be like his father. At that point, Jotaro and Koichi would part off, and this time I think Polnareff would actually join up with Jotaro and Koichi, since he has nothing really else in his life. No offense, I mean, what's Polnareff gonna do, just be vibing in France alone? Might as well just have him come along with Jotaro. And since Jotaro can rewind specific parts in time, this means he would be able to revert Polnareff's body back to normal, which means he isn't a crippled. And as for Stone Ocean, we could have Polnareff accompanying Jotaro in Stone Ocean, and when they fight Pucci, Jotaro with Star Platinum Requiem would be enough to kind of beat him. And with Star Platinum Requiem being so much more powerful than the likes of Whitesnake, nothing is going to really happen with Whitesnake off-guarding Jotaro and stuff like that, and Whitesnake is going to be defeated. And we can maybe have Polnareff, Jolene, and Jotaro having a little bit of an investigation with the last part of Dio, and maybe finishing him off. And with that being said, Stone Ocean's main events don't really happen all that much, and really Jotaro just kind of stomps out everybody, and Jolene and them actually live a happy life. Pucci doesn't win, and mainly Jotaro and the main heroes win. Thanks to Jotaro, the events of Golden Wind and Stone Ocean were a lot easier, and with that being said, we are going to be concluding this what if, and this what if is actually a solid and happy ending. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want more JoJo what ifs like this, let me know down below. Be sure to leave a like, share with your friends if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you are new, and hit the bell icon, that way you are notified and updated every time I upload, because normally people aren't, so do that. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, follow me on Twitter, etc, and I'm going to catch y'all in the next video. Thank you guys for watching once again. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye.